I felt my soul leave through my mouth, and for the first time in my life, I was afraid of nothing. I watched myself die, I watched it happen, and part of me wanted to stay there. For 15 minutes I stopped existing. When I came back, I cried like I had never cried before. 3 people, 1 substance, and 15 minutes that erased everything they thought they were. This is what happens when you smoke the toad, and this is the trip archive. It's called 5-MeO-DMT. In nature, it's the venom a desert toad releases when it's afraid, a defense evolution spent millions of years building that a curious primate discovered will erase the human ego in seconds. When it's smoked, the effect begins in under a minute. There are no colors, no geometry, no stories like other psychedelics. There's a white flash, and then nothing. The people who come back call that place the void. They say it's the closest thing to dying, without actually dying. The 3 people you're about to hear went there for different reasons. 1 went out of arrogance, 1 went out of pain, and the last one didn't want to go at all. All 3 came back different. Stay until the end, because the third account is the one nobody forgets. He reached out to me after one of my videos. He told me he was 43 years old, that he had won at everything life says matters: money, status, the house, the cars, and that he still woke up every single day with a stone on his chest that no one else could see. A friend told him about the toad. He laughed. He thought it was for lost people chasing meaning. But the emptiness inside him was louder than his pride, so he went. He sat in a room with a facilitator, brought the pipe to his lips and thought, nothing is going to shake me, I've seen it all. He took the hit, and the line he repeated to me the most was this: there was no time to get ready. One instant he was a man in a room. The next instant, the man didn't exist anymore. He said he felt his own identity being peeled away, like someone peeling a fruit. His name, his story, his face, all of it dissolved into a white flash. And here's the dark part: he was terrified, not startled. The absolute terror of realizing that the thing he had called me his whole life was being erased, and maybe there was no coming back. I killed myself. That's what he said. That's what went through my head. I killed the guy I'd spent my whole life building, and now I was going to be trapped in this white forever. He tried to scream and had no mouth. He tried to run and had no legs, no body, just consciousness, alone, in a place with no walls. And then, at the bottom of that terror, something let go. He stopped fighting. The moment he accepted that the me was gone, the terror turned into something else. For the first time in 43 years, there was no one to defend, nothing to prove, no stone to carry, because there was no him. And what was left, in his words, was a piece so big I had no word for it, only tears. 15 minutes. It felt like a whole lifetime. When his body came back, he was soaked in tears, laughing and crying at the same time, like a child. The trophy, the car, the title. He looked at all of it afterward and understood. It was never about winning, it was about letting go, and he could only let go once he died for 15 minutes. The second story is from a woman who wrote to me in the middle of the night. She said that after she lost her mother, something inside her switched off. It wasn't sadness. She would have preferred sadness. It was numbness. She would look at her own children and feel nothing. She had tried therapy, medication, traveling. Nothing reached the place where she had locked herself away. She learned that researchers were studying 5-MeO-DMT for depression and trauma, and that was enough for her to bet what was left of her hope. She went to a retreat into a tiny fishing village, ate only fruit for days, and on the last night She sat on the sand in front of a woman who guided the ceremony. When the smoke hit, she didn't see light or peace. She said she was pulled downward, into a darkness she had spent years building a wall to avoid looking at. And there it all was, everything she had buried, her mother in the hospital, the things she never said, the guilt, the anger, the fear. That feeling again would be unbearable. I thought I was going to drown in there, she told me. It was the loneliest thing I've ever lived. I was alone with all the pain I'd run from my whole life. And there was nowhere to run because I had no body and no name anymore. I just was that pain. She said that for a moment she wished she would never wake up again. But, and she made a point of marking that but, when she stopped pushing the pain away and simply let it exist, the darkness didn't swallow her, it opened. The pain didn't turn into joy, she said. It turned into something bigger. It turned into love. She felt like she was being held by something immense and warm with no shape that knew every part of her and judged her for none of it. She felt her mother there, not as a ghost but as a presence inside that vastness telling her it was okay, that she was allowed to feel again. And when she came back, the first thing she did was cry for the first time in 3 years. She cried, and that crying was the sound of the door opening again. She still has hard days. The toad didn't erase the loss, but she can feel her children again, the sun, food, her own life. I went to the darkest place there is, she said, to remember what light feels like. The last one is the one that stayed with me the most, and that's why I saved it, for the end. He described himself as a veteran. He'd tried everything, said he was psychedelic proof, that nothing surprised him anymore. He had that dangerous kind of pride, of someone who thinks he knows every corner of his own mind. A friend warned him, with this one, you need a scale, you need someone with you. You need to be careful because it's too strong. And he, in his own words, thought, I don't need a scale. What could go wrong? He was alone in his apartment. He eyeballed the doses. He figured it was small. He took it all at once. He said the last thing he remembers from the room was the lighter. After that, no more room, no more him, no more anything. Except, unlike the other two, his consciousness didn't let go. He fought. And fighting the void, he said, is like drowning while someone tells you to relax, and you can't. The dark part of this account is specific. He fell into what they call the loop, the same fragment of a thought repeating infinitely, no body, no time, no exit. I was certain, he said, absolutely certain that I had broken something that doesn't get fixed. That I'd spend eternity in there, or worse, that I'd come back insane to that apartment and never be a normal person again. He thought he had destroyed his own mind, out of pride. He can't say how long it lasted. To him, it was ages, and what pulled him out wasn't strength, it was the opposite. At some point, exhausted, he gave up. He stopped trying to fix it, stopped trying to understand it, and simply said, with no mouth, no words, okay, I was wrong, I don't know anything. And it was the humility, not the courage, that opened the door. His ego began to reassemble, piece by piece. He said he felt every fragment coming back, like someone relearning his own name. When he finally opened his eyes in that messy apartment, he was on the floor, shaking, alive, and the first thing he felt wasn't relief. It was shame, and right after it, a gratitude he didn't know he was capable of. I spent my whole life thinking I knew everything, he told me. I had to erase myself from existence and beg to come back, to understand that I know almost nothing, and that that isn't a weakness. It's the beginning of everything. 3 people. One went out of pride and came back light. One went out of pain and came back able to feel, and one went out of arrogance and came back humble. The toad gave them nothing that wasn't already inside them. It just erased everything that was in the way, including the fear of dying, because all three had already died and come back. I'm not telling you to do this. The opposite, you heard what the third one went through. But I'll ask you this. If you had 15 minutes in the void, what do you think yourself is hiding from you? Write it in the comments. I read all of them. And sometimes, the next account on this channel is born from a comment right down there. If this story held you, the bell tells you when the next account drops. I'm the Trip Archive, and until the next trip.